What's up, everybody in the FFBE Global Facebook group, and hello to everybody who sees this video on YouTube as well. Welcome to this week's Ask an Old Mog video. With this week having a Dark Visions event, I thought it would be a good opportunity to go back and revisit Dark Visions and go a little bit more in depth. In the last video that I did about Dark Visions, it was just about getting through Dark Visions. If you're not that interested in a good score, you just want to clear it and kind of get in, get out, and get all the rewards. It was specifically tailored to that Dark Visions. For this one, I want to talk a little bit more about scoring and how to get, at least in the early stages, a good score so that you can kind of max out your potential. You might not get a perfect score on some of the later stages, with this, but this is going to help you kind of set the groundwork for building your team. And so I thought it would be good to talk about it. So let's go. So we didn't have a specific question that I wanted to talk about, but I wanted to just kind of put up a couple things here. So, what does it take to get a perfect score in Dark Visions? And you can actually see this in the game, but you're really needing to do, a certain amount of damage per level, take a minimum amount of damage. And if you do, the strategy we're going to talk about, you're going to take 0 damage and have 0 deaths as well. So you're not going to be worrying about those two. You're going to get a perfect score on those criteria. Number of effective hits, you have to do a certain number of hits that the enemy is weak to. That's going to matter in a couple different ways. It either has to be something that you imbue on your party, or that you use the enemy's elemental weakness. And then also chaining. To get a perfect score on a level, you do have to reach a 100 hit chain at some point during your trial. So let's take a look. If you go into how to play, I'm on the Dark Vision screen. If you go into how to play, it'll kind of break it down for you how to do it. You're gonna form a team of 6 units. Each party is gonna have an elemental weakness, and damage is gonna be boosted based on what team you pick. And here's where the scoring is. It tells you it's gonna be calculated based on these 6 different criteria. These are the 6 criteria that I went ahead and showed you, talked about. It doesn't tell you what those criteria are though. So what it is, every level you have to kind of max out, and for the early ones you can get 50,000 points for this. I'll show you a perfect score, and then 0 damage, 0 deaths. You have to do at least 6 such effective attacks, and then get a 100 hit chain. So there it is. And if you look at one, 50,000 points for most damage in a turn. I got all the effective attacks and stuff, and this is the hardest one. Doing the most damage is the hardest, because you can kill the boss without doing maximum damage. It's very, very easy to do, but you obviously want to get that maximum damage. So let's go ahead and take a look at putting your team together. The next thing we want to talk about as part of this is as well putting your team together. Unless you have absurdly strong units, you always want to pick a team based on the elemental weakness that the boss has. When you build a team around a specific element, all the elemental damage for that field effect for that team is boosted. And it's like a field effect, but it also stacks with field effects. And let's take a look at that. So we're going to go ahead and go into this one, physical domain of light and lightning, or lightning and light 2. So it tells us we want to do a physical damage and do lightning or light to maximize our score. Okay, so if you look up at the top, it tells you this is the wind team that I put together. I'm not going to use this one. It boosts wind damage by 20%. So you want to pick either a lightning or a light, because this boss is weak to lightning or light unless you have very strong units. I'm going to use a dark team, for example. So this is the team that I'm going to run, and it's going to focus on physical. Sephiroth is a physical damage dealer. These two are going to help us with our 100 hit chain. Venera is going to break for us, which is going to help us do more damage. Bulwark is going to put dark element on everybody, which is going to boost our dark damage, let them do effective hits, and as well as weaken the boss. So this team is going to be able to do this just fine, but that is because Sephiroth is a very strong unit. So let's take a look at it in combat. Very easy. Okay, we see at the top we have a damage boost for dark damage because this particular boss, or this particular team, is focused on dark damage, so I picked that. Yuna is going to put up a field effect just to show that that does stack. So we've got our dark field effect here on both sides, as well as the elemental team field effect, which they stack, so that's good. We'll go ahead and do Bulwark's Imbue. That's going to make sure everybody does dark damage, which is going to be effective hits. Venera is going to go ahead and break. Let us do more damage. Okay, and then you just got to worry about getting your 100 hit chain. The easiest way to do it is to do a triple cast of Oriole Ray, Stardust Ray, Stardust Ray. Any units that can do Oriole Ray, Stardust Ray can do that, and we talk about that in the other video that I made about chaining and about dark visions on the last one. And then we've got Sephiroth's Limit Burst. So what we're looking here to do is a fairly good amount of damage. What I don't know is, let's see here. I want to make sure I chain this right. Bear with me here 1 second. Okay, and yep, this is it. It's this one, number 1. Okay. So we're just going to go ahead and chain this up. We're going to trigger Sephiroth and the others about the same time. This is going to get us 100 hits, and Sephiroth's going to do a big hit in there. We're the wrong element because this boss is weak to light and lightning. We still did 6.7 billion. We got a 100 hit chain though. So we're going to look and see, was that enough to get a perfect score? Chaining is the biggest issue here, and damage is the biggest issue. All right, 50,000. So we maxed out our damage score. That was a perfect run for this boss. Okay. Now, if we go into the next one, to see if that same team will still work, we're gonna take a look at this and see that it's not always going to be good to use the same team over and over again. I'm going to use the same team. See how this does, right? And I'm just going to hit reload, honestly. Okay. Yuna's going to do the field. Bulwark's going to imbue us. Venera's going to break. And let's see if we can do it. All right, Sephiroth did kill it in 1 hit with our chain, but is he strong enough to get a perfect score? Only 1.9 billion. That is not enough. So that's why it's important to focus, physical or magical. In previous Dark Visions event, Sephiroth would have been strong enough to do all of them basically with the same team. But they're starting to get a little tougher. They're starting to be geared more towards you kind of playing and getting the right teams built. So obviously we did not do enough damage. We still killed it in 1 hit. It still is an S+ score, but we're not doing enough damage. So what are we going to do? We're going to switch it out. We're going to go to a different team. Okay, I'm going to go back to that wind team because this boss happens to be weak to fire and wind. You could do this with anybody. I'm doing it with this particular team. Bulwark happens to be really good at doing wind, so we're gonna go ahead and do that. And I'm also going to switch my chainers to the right spots so they can do that. Bartz is gonna be giving Ferris a limit burst. Ferris is gonna be doing her limit burst, and not really sure why Ling's here. I don't know. We'll see. I used this team when I did this on stream the other day, and it worked just fine. Okay. Bulwark, here we go, is going to do his wind boost. Okay. Bartz is going to entrust to Ferris. I guess Ling just broke. We'll buff and break with Ling and stuff like that, so let's just do that. Here we go. We'll apply a break. Alrighty, we're gonna do just like before. Oriole Ray, Stardust, Stardust. Alright, Zon's gonna do the same thing. That's gonna get us that 100 hit chain. Oriole Ray, Stardust, Stardust. And Ferris is gonna use the Limit Burst. Ferris' Limit Burst is a little bit different on the timing. So we do have to time it well and be careful, but it does work. So Sephiroth did 1.9 billion, right? Not very good. There we go. I saw a 9 billion in there, so Ferris, just by switching to the right element and switching to the right type of attack, this is an evocation, but it's, you know, magic based. We did a lot more damage, and Ferris is definitely not as strong as Sephiroth. So that's the big difference between, you know, using the right element, using the right type of attack. You know, Ferris did a lot more, and we're gonna raise our score significantly, you know, to get that maximum score. Now, if you can do all 4 of those levels right now that are available, levels 1 and 2 of both domains, you're going to be at rank 1 for right now. We can share rank 1 until we get to the harder levels. But that's the kind of the general gist of like what we're trying to do here. We're trying to maximize our rank by getting the easy ones done and getting all the rewards that we can. It's gonna help you get your points faster, your completion points and stuff like that, as well as set you up for just kind of better practice when it comes to building teams and focusing on enemy weaknesses as you go forward, as you're getting better at doing dark vision. So hopefully that is helpful to you. If it's not helpful, if you're curious, like, you know, what are some other units I could use, you know, for these early stages, you could use any chainers you want as long as you can give them fire or wind. So there's lots of ways you could do that. You could use Ling for fire damage, you could use Bulwark for wind, you could use Mermaid Frisia, you could use Bartz. Bartz can just do wind imbue with his limit burst his shift form limit burst. There's lots of ways you could do that. Ferris is a great finisher. Terra is a good finisher. We're looking for magical. So if you have Angela's a decent fire, or a great fire finisher. You know, lots of options there. We want to do magical, not physical. For the other one, you know, I used Sephiroth and it ended up working. But if you don't have Sephiroth and you want to use lightning or light, you know, whoever you want for lightning, like if you happen to have Esther, you could use Esther for this, which would be way overkill, but you could do it. You could use Kain if you have Kain for physical lightning or light damage. Lots of options there, or just imbuing somebody. So you could use Ling to imbue light and use whoever you want. Like you could use Titus, for example, or you could use Cetra Descendant Aerith to imbue light. And there's lots of ways you could get that in there. It does not have to be one of these, you know, high-end top-tier units to get that perfect score. That's really about it. So hope that's helpful. Hope you can get to a point where you are getting a good score in dark visions, especially on the early stages. I know if you're just, you know, you're kind of new to dark visions, if you're kind of like kind of lower in the player rank area and like you're just kind of getting started, it can be overwhelming. You're like, oh, I got to put together all these different teams. No, you really don't, especially because they stagger them, you know, leveled out, and you can kind of use the same teams over and over again. You know, it's not really going to change a whole lot for the early stages. It's the later stages that get harder. So definitely go in and enjoy these early ones. You can go ahead and blow them up and get the good rewards and the score and stuff like that. Hope you've got a question for next week. I'd love to address something specific if we have something. If you do, drop a comment below, whether in the Facebook group or here on YouTube. And we'll see you in the next video. Take care.